Coming up on the Town Tailgate podcast, our first one of the new year. Yeah. After watching today's a very successful Nickelodeon NFL playoff game broadcast, we were very excited to ask some friends about how they think the Major League Baseball could do one their own, and they give us some suggestions, so we share that with you. And unfortunately, we get into some very somber news. Talk about the passing of the great Dodgers manager, Tommy Lasorda, Sandra Scully, the wife of Vin Scully, and, of course, Phil Niekro, the knuckleball extraordinaire. Then, Julio, what do we get into for the hot stove?
Yep, just like how Lil Wayne's classic album, The Block is Hot, The Stove is Hot. That's right, we got some major trades going down. San Diego Padres are not playing. They equip with a couple of aces and with a foreign star from South Korea. But also, don't forget about those Mets with their brand new owner. They made a huge trade for Francisco Lindor. And
the biggest trade of the offseason.
Biggest trade of the offseason so far. And we're going to close it out. Of course, this is an A's podcast at the end of the day. We're going to talk some A's news. We had a couple guys leaving free agency. But, of course, we lost one of the biggest parts of the A's organization of the last 20 years, beat writer Susan Slusser, heading across the bridge and joining the San Francisco Giants as their beat writer.
That's right, folks. We have a couple former Oakland Great Hall of Fame inductees to do in this episode. So stay tuned, and here it goes.
Yeah.
Apparently Nickelodeon is getting into the sports broadcasting game business because today, which was kind of a full sports day, I watched a NFL playoff game on Nickelodeon, which was pretty fun and different.
And it was awesome.
It was cool, and it brought me back to my childhood, but I also rolled my eyes the entire game because they're trying to explain football to me, and as an adult, I understand it very well, and I just, you have to get through those moments. Remember, this is for children. So there's that. But the rest of it was so good. It was so great. Welcome to the Town Tailgate. I'm Chris Madrigal. That's Julio Renault. So Julio, did you watch the whole game on Nick, or did you watch part of it?
I watched. I didn't realize how much of a pain in the ass to actually find a streaming service for Nickelodeon, because they don't actually stream from, because I have an Apple TV, I don't have a cable or anything. Yeah. They don't actually have an app you can stream it from. The Nickelodeon app just replays it. So like I had to chase down to find, eventually, shout out to Jorge Martinez, my brother Andrew's brother-in-law, gave me his login for YouTube TV, and I was able to watch it through there.
Oh, nice.
But dude, it was fun. It was fun. I think if the point was, this is a way to introduce football to kids or younger people, this is the way to do it. I don't know if they actually watched, because to me it was more for like dudes our age and people our age who are just like, oh, SpongeBob, or stoners who are like high at 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was awesome. And like when my statement for the beginning of the podcast was obviously a massive like sarcastic take. Like I don't actually feel that way. I had fun watching it. I had only planned to watch the first half. And then I ended up watching the entire game on it.
Yeah.
So I found honestly, I just found that Noah Eagle and Nate Burleson's commentary was just refreshing, as opposed to the same.
Nate is so good, dude. I can't wait till he gets like a full opportunity in broadcasting.
So they've tested him out on a bunch of different stuff. Like he did the AAF for a little bit, and he's like subbed in a couple times, and he's really good. And I think they know he's really good, but he's also really good in face on television as like one of the faces of the football league.
Good Morning Football.
Yeah. So I think that they really want to expose him. They're trying to expose him that way by, he does Good Morning Football. And also he does the Fox NFL Today show. So it's like, they're just trying to, they have their stars kind of like at the NBA or something. And they want to really like put those broadcast stars like in your face. So I think that's why he doesn't do games, because then you're not getting you're getting a small dose of him every week, as opposed to a large exposure. But he's really good. He's really good at breaking down the game. He explained it perfectly, I think, for kids, like doing a lot of like playground analogies and stuff like that, which are kind of funny.
The Taysom Hill analogy was fucking 10 out of 10. He's like, Taysom Hill's like the kid on the playground who can do everything. He's really good at kickball. He's really good at tag. Like, dude, it was chef's kiss. Great job.
It was perfect. And I was texting my uncle about this. So it seemed successful and it seemed like it blew up on Twitter, but it seemed that way to millennials who don't have kids, that it was great and it was a great success. I don't know how kids actually reacted to it today. I don't know anybody who has kids that watched it. My uncle's the only one who has kids, and his kids are kind of too old for it. They're teenagers, so they definitely didn't watch it or care to watch that. So I have no idea how it affected that. Kurt Warner tweeted something like a hilarious tweet, a picture of his son, his 30-year-old son watching football. And it said, I've been trying to get my son to watch football with me for years. So I want to do a big shout out, or for years, and he's never been able to do it or wanted to sit down and watch on Sundays. So big shout out to Nickelodeon for finally getting some quality father-son time. And we watched the full game today together. And it's just like a guy, 30-year-old guy, just standing there, like eyes glued to the TV. It's hilarious. It's yeah.
So if you didn't watch and just want a quick lowdown,
how old Kurt Warner is? That motherfucker is like, he's old. He has a 30-year-old son.
He's probably Well, think about it. He was already pretty old or older when he was on the Rams team.
Yeah, because
I think he was probably
played
like
a lot of Canadian football. Was that it? Or no, arena football.
Yeah. So he was probably like in his early 30s or late. Okay, we know. Let's not worry about the math. Anyways, if you didn't watch, quick summary of what the game was. Pretty much regular football game, but by Nickelodeon styling. So if a team scored a touchdown, they had animated slime cannons in the end zone, or like if a team was lining up for a field goal, then the field goal post was SpongeBob's face.
Yeah.
So really silly, really over the top. It was super entertaining.
The pretty first much down marker line was an orange line with like
a slime line,
like going up and down, like animated in it. Yeah, and they
and
did, like when they would do highlights, like replays, they would put like fun like animation, like if when Drew Brees was throwing the ball, they put like little animated wind behind the ball, like while it's in the air and stuff like that. And
And if you were on Twitter when this was going on, a lot of people were talking about other sports, how it would work for other sports. And from our Twitter account, I actually tweeted like, fucking Dallas Braden would kill it in one of these broadcasts. And he actually replied to us saying, he's like, you know it. Like, I would like just go, he said facts.
Yeah.
So we want to open the show, something a little more fun. Chris, we're going to have couple of these. We have some from our own suggestion and some from friends of the show that we texted. Chris, lead us off. How would you nickify an A's game?
Well, first off, whatever that game would be, like let's say it's opening day for the A's on Nickelodeon. I would get a crew in there at the stadium weeks ahead of time to just do it up to make it look like Gerald Field from Hey Arnold. 100%. Like I would have like actually, you know which stadium would work perfectly for that would be Fenway Park. So you remember in Hey Arnold and Gerald Field, they against the building wall, because for those of you who didn't watch Hey Arnold, in one episode they had a vacant lot in the middle of the city because Hey Arnold takes place in the middle of a city, and they turn it into a baseball field, and that was the baseball field for the show whenever they would play. And on the wall in right field, they put lines, and it said like single if it goes above this line, double if it goes above this line, and then like home run. They could do that on the Green Monster, which I think would be hilarious. And then like just I don't know, other things like that, and just kind of really like buy into the theme of that episode of Hey Arnold, which is like one of my favorite.
So all right, so here's my Hey Arnold suggestion.
Okay.
Whenever there's a mound visit from the opposing team, so there's gonna be two different mound visits. When it's the home team, so when Bomo's on the mound and he goes for a mound visit and he calls in his pitcher, Wanda and Cosmo from Fairly Odd Parents are gonna show up, and they're gonna be like calling in like the pitcher.
That would be actually hella funny.
But when the opposing team is on the mound and they're taking a longer time on the mound than usual, you're going to start hearing the chant from Hey Arnold, "Stoop, kid, afraid to leave the stoop."
And just shame him. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
just shame like.
I don't know if that's teaching a good lesson though, dude.
Um,
For kids, I don't know, but yeah.
my other favorite suggestion I thought of was whenever there's like a web gem style play, because if you don't know, Nickelodeon airs the Ninja Turtles now.
Mm-hmm.
We just get a cowabunga.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty cool.
Home run robbing. You just see Leonardo just strike down with Ramon in the background.
And before we get to the other ones, I just want to say one thing. Shout out to Iron Eagle's son, Noah Eagle, who did it today. He's only like 25 years old. He crushed the broadcast too, by the way. He brought some swag, and
he was awesome.
Yeah,
he was
also
really good.
brought some. It felt very like professional, like I was watching a normal game. All right, so we reached out to some people. I know we reached out to Ronnie, right? So Ronnie had a couple suggestions for us.
Ronnie's suggestions. Well, this was the pretty common one when we reached out to everybody. I think we're all in the same boat. Home run slimes.
Yeah.
There was a picture going around online of Fernando Tatis with animated slimes by him when he had home run. Hella tight. Keep it.
If they do a walk-off, they should have to get slimed for sure.
Oh, 1,000%.
Instead of pied.
But he went a little bit overboard. Pretty much everybody's getting slimed. We're just going to slime the outfielders for no reason. So I'd imagine if there's an error, slime it, whatever.
Yeah.
And also, he was a big fan of Lex. I saw you guys were having a Twitter conversation about Lex. He was doing the on-air.
Lex was great, dude.
Yeah. He's like, just get my boy Lex in there.
Yeah.
We got our homegirl, Jessica Kleinschmidt from NBC Sports Bay Area. She wants a burrito gun.
A burrito gun.
I don't know
which if you're in the to Nickelodeon at all. But
I don't care.
Thanks.
It's zany. It's over the top. It's fun. Yeah. And she's like, I don't know. I've just been thinking about burrito guns. I think that's a really perfect. Hell yeah, it's zany. It's over the top. And then of course our dude Rich Latter from the town from our group chat, the 4 Train Savages. We have a group chat with the 4 of us called the 4 Train Tailgate. But anyways, he also suggested slime. So it looks like everybody is a huge fan of the slime. Sean Payne post game got slimed as a promise.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun, but you know what? Baseball hates fun, so that's never going to happen.
Yeah, and on Twitter, we got to move on. So one last thing about this. On Twitter, Danny Vietti, great follow, by the way. If any of you don't follow him, he's a sports writer or a baseball writer for CBS Sports. Does a lot of social media stuff. He was the one who created the social media like March Madness bracket for like best like Twitter follow or social media follow in baseball. He made a video and like kind of talked about it, and he made a really good point. A lot of some people hate on the NFL for like kind of reaching too much and trying to like reach different types of audiences today. Some of them may have been successful, some of them not. I think the Nickelodeon one, there's potential for it. One thing that baseball is losing is a youth growth, and I think that this would be a good way to expand that because baseball can be a confusing sport to learn, especially when you're a kid and you're just sitting out in left field and you're not the best player on your team in Peanut League and sitting out in left field and you're just there for 6 innings and you kind of don't really know what's going on. This is a great way to like be interactive and really learn from someone who is knowledgeable and can like educate that to you in a really simplistic way. And it could be a good way to bridge the bond between, father and son, which is like a great, tradition and stuff like that. So it's like you're sitting there, you're listening to Dallas Braden teach you like the underlyings of strategy of, what this pitcher is trying to do in a simplistic way. And then, you have your father sitting right next to you who can also kind of give you some insight too. So anyway, he posted that video today. I go check it out. It's really interesting and he has a really good take on it.
Last thought, it's another good way to kind of bring back baseball for youth. Bring back backyard baseball.
Oh, yes. I could not agree.
So the next thing, we're doing our news. Chris and I were kind of talking over the last couple of weeks in terms of how we were looking at doing some restructuring of the show because in the off season, we don't have a lot to talk about. So it kind of just goes a little too far or in terms of the length of show. And like, we totally get it.
And also, Julio, like kind of like you said, we're going into a new season, so we talked about the new changes for the new season for when the season picks up, and we have the weekly podcast.
We got it. We got to stay fluid, my guy.
Yeah.
So our new segment for the news. We're only going to stick to 3 stories, and we're going to be naming it the Big 3.
That's right.
After our dudes, a lot of excitement there, but unfortunately, we're leading off with something not exciting.
and that's for the national news. So first one on the big three this week, Julio. Unfortunately, we have to start with this, but it's pretty big news. Tommy Lasorda passed away this week at the age of 93. Former Los Angeles Dodgers manager, probably the greatest manager in the history of their franchise, I would say. It's unfortunate. He was kind of the old school, I would say, face of that team. Whenever, when they made their playoff runs the past few years, every time they would flash back to those 1980s teams, because they always do that. They always like to remind you of history. Lasorda was always involved in that. He was always at the games. He's, ever since he retired, he's been a big fan. He goes to almost every game. There's some interesting videos of him online too. You can watch him beat up the Philly fanatic, which is kind of funny. But yeah, there's some Ace ties too, Julio. I know you were interested in sharing that.
Yeah, of course he beat the A's in the '88 World Series.
Yeah.
So they're always going to be kind of paired together in that way. But shout out to Vince Contronio, because he was actually the person that tweeted and brought it to my attention. He was on the A's. He was actually a part of the Kansas City A's in 1956. He was a lefty. And if you actually look at his pitching stats, he wasn't that good.
Yeah.
But what made him a great player was he eventually was in the Canadian leagues, and that's where he kind of learned more about coaching and all that. But 23 years as a coach in the Dodgers organization. He spent 3 years as a third base coach, and then for 20 years he was their manager. And it's not just, obviously we're in LA, so it's a little bit of a bias with seeing, the city lit up blue in his honor. But he was just a character in baseball. He was one, like we talked about how great he was as a manager, but he was so loose. He was so much fun. There was a quote where it's like, when he was your best friend and when you're doing the right things, and he was also like your worst enemy when you're fucking up.
Yeah.
My biggest memory of him is still, I think, was at the 2001-2002 All-Star game when Vladdy Guerrero was at bat, and his bat flew out of his hands when Lasorda was on third base coach and he fell over. And that's the thing. He knew comedy. So he knew what he was doing with that. Like the role, like that's perfect fall.
100%. And the Philly fanatic thing was obviously probably a setup bit beforehand, but it's funny, Julio. I was in Manhattan Beach yesterday, like hanging out with a friend, and we went to go grab some to-go drinks, and we went to this bar called Obi's. Walked in, grabbed a beer, and waited for the bartender to pour me my beer. And first thing we instantly started talking about, I think he saw that I had like a sports sweater on, and he like brought up Lasorda, and then we were just like talking about him and just like, yeah, it's so sad, but I'm glad that he was alive to see them win the World Series this year, because we know how involved he's been and how vocal he's been about wanting these teams the past few years to win. So that's at least he passed away seeing that. But I don't know. I don't have anything more to say about him. But Hall of Famer and two-time Series, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I wrote, so there's a Tommy Lasorda baseball game for Sega Genesis. Awesome. And the thing, video game history thing, I'll make it brief. When Sega was trying to take over the American market that Nintendo had, they knew probably one of the best ways to do it was through sports titles, because like there wasn't a really established sports title that was in the US at that time.
Yeah.
And Sega capitalized on it. So that's why they came out with Tommy Lasorda baseball, Joe Montana football. I think there's like an Arnold Palmer golf game. And he was one of the first, he was the face of a baseball game. And because of that is why Madden happened and all these other sports franchises.
Were they the ones who created John Madden football too? The original John?
No, this was just, I wouldn't be shocked if people from that project left and did Madden for EA back in the late 80s. But his name was a part of something that really is a kind of an important part of sports video games too. Yeah. So huge history. Sad to see him leave, but he lived a long life, had a lot of great accomplishments. It wasn't the only sadness that has happened from Dodger Town. Sandra Scully, the wife of Vince Scully, passed away. We don't have too much to talk about with her, but we just want to give our condolences for the family as well as Dodger Nation. I can only imagine how Vin is feeling with the loss of those two.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more. We had another Hall of Famer pass
heads
away.
up. This is gonna be a very disappointing, not disappointing, but a very
Somber.
Somber. Big
on
three
top
this
of
week.
on top of the hell that us as a country has been through this last week. This also happened. Phil Niekro, 81 years old, Hall of Fame pitcher, passed away.
The original knuckleballer, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Dude pitched until he was 48 years old. 318 wins.
Dude, you can do that with a knuckleball because you don't have to throw it fast. Like, remember R.A. Dickey pitched till he was like 45? Like, it was insane.
Tim Wakefield pitched for a long time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. It happens every time, at least in our lifetimes, when a knuckleballer comes around. They'll have it for a year or two, and that's it. People learn how to figure it out. The fact that he pitched for 48 years is pretty incredible. As a knuckleball pitcher,
there's plenty of knuckleball pitchers who like dabbled in it for a little bit, but like a true like straight up knuckleball pitcher, like who throws 80% knuckleball pitches, which him, Wakefield, and R.A. Dickey did. Those guys do last a long time. Like all those guys played long careers and were successful for long careers. Phil, like I said, he's the one who made the knuckleball popular. He's the reason why there were Tim Wakefields and R.A. Dickeys. Because they were like, wait, there's this pitch that exists. I can do it. If you ever want to watch the Netflix documentary Knuckleball,
good one.
He is like kind of the main character of that because he made it famous. All right, Julio, what's the last?
Yeah, no more somberness. We're going to get some straight up controversy right now.
Yeah.
The Angels have fired, or there's a lawsuit happening between the Angels and one of their former clubhouse manager by the name of Brian Bubba Harkins.
He was the visitor clubhouse manager, though, right?
Yes, visiting clubhouse manager. I'm sorry. But long story short, he is suing the team because he has put allegations, or is he suing the team? Anyways, he pretty much, what's happening is he has named names that there have been pitchers who've been using illegal substances to help change the motion of the ball when it comes out of their hands. Who are some of these pitchers?
Let me clarify and simplify that for the listeners a little bit, because that could be misconstrued as doing steroids. No, that means that there are pitchers who like to use like lotion or like have like baby oil that they like to rub on their fingers so they can get certain types of grips on the ball. That's what.
Thank you.
Not like so cheating in that way, not cheating in like health ways. No. I just you said it great. I just want to make sure that there's a little more clarification.
No, I know.
Because we're about to start naming names. I don't want to name names, and people are just like, "What? He did steroids?" And be like, "Oh no."
At the same time, though, I'm glad you stopped me because I was trying to pull up the names in front of me.
Yeah.
But some of the people who he has named from the Angels organization, we have Troy Percival, so part of the 2002 World Series team. Mm-hmm. Current pitchers including Cameron Drozen, Kyan Middleton, Matt Adrizi, Dylan Bundy, who had a huge year last year, and unfortunately, one of our guys, Yusmeira Petit. But those are the small fish. Some of the other players that he's alleging who have done this have included Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Felix Hernandez, Corey Kluber, Edwin Jackson, another Oakland, and Adam Wainwright. Now, there is nothing that's really a part of baseball's rules and regulations when it comes, or there is like banning of foreign substances, but it is very, for lack of better words, lenient. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
We've seen guys who have the pine tar on the hat all the time. Guys who have pine tar or grip on the back of their jerseys, and that they'll get a little bit on there. It's always been a thing. But it's pretty. How do you feel about it? Because it's very divisive, especially with. I think we're kind of hot in the wake of the Astros allegations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your initial thoughts about all this?
There's going to be a lot of listeners who listen to this and are going to listen to my take, and they're going to be like, Chris is such a fucking hypocrite because of the way he feels about steroid uses and steroid players and not being in the Hall of Fame. And we all know, especially the listeners of this podcast, especially you, know that I'm very anti-steroid era. Anti-steroids, they don't belong. They're cheaters, and they don't belong in the Hall of Fame. I don't know, man. This I can't get behind too much with that take, in my opinion. Like, it's just like, I think if you're caught in the act, like who was that pitcher a couple years ago who got caught in the act? It was in his glove. He had pine tar in his glove or something like that. I forgot. Then yeah, you should get thrown out of the game, and that's that. But like, I don't know. I mean, I think Major League kind of said it best as like the old dude who uses like Vagisil and like powder and stuff like that. And he has it like on different parts of his body. And he's like, I'm pushing 40. Like I need every little thing I can to put as much as I can on the ball. It's an advantage, I guess. I'm not too crazy about like I don't know. I mean, what are you gonna do? You gonna suspend Justin Verlander because some dude said this? Like, I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest with you. That's probably the best way I can explain it. Is I just don't give a shit at the end of it.
I mean, anything that can help ruin Justin Verlander's image more, I'm all in.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm in the board of like, you know what? Throw the book at him, kind of thing. But yeah, it's the reality of baseball. This has always been a part of it. It's always going to be a part of it. When even something as simple as a rosin bag, it's going to change the effect of how the ball's going to be coming out of a hand. Bolsteroni actually put out a pretty good tweet. It was very get off my lawn-ish.
Yeah.
But he had said, it needs to be said again and again. In just about every game during the season, you can see some pitchers applying foreign substances on the mound. Everybody under the MLB umbrella can see it. Execs, players, umps. This is not news. It's been going on for a long, long time.
See, this is also
a
hypocritical opinion again for me. It's like I didn't like his tone on that. It feels very much like the unwritten rules of baseball type of feel.
Get off my lawny.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's just the reach, because look, if you think about it, look at other sports too. If you look at football, look how long Stickum has been a part of football. It's not as bad as it was in the 70s with Fred Biletnikoff and all those dudes. Mm-hmm. There's still a little bit of those aspects still left. Think about drawing fouls in football. Think about drawing fouls in basketball. Look how much hate we put on James Harden for his style of playing, and pretty much now Trae Young because he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You can actually hear that take on the basketball brunch
the
podcast.
NBA breakfast podcast.
Yeah. More of that over there with Chris and Xavier Gomez.
Yeah, maybe we'll have that take because today's game was ridiculous because Steph Curry was getting fouled left and right, and he doesn't get any of those calls. But that's for another podcast.
It's the acting of it. It's the acting of it. Every sport has those things.
Yeah.
I don't know much about hockey, but I'm sure they have those things that's just a part of the nature of it. But I think right now, this because of the wake of what the Astros allegations are, because they straight up did cheat in a whole nother level, I think we're all a little bit sensitive to it. So in reality is there probably wasn't much of a story to this, but because of, I think we're all still on that high of anger towards the Astros, and that we're probably not going to maybe not get over it ever.
Yeah.
This is why it's more of a story than it should be. But like I said, anytime you can ruin Justin Verlander's reputation, you're going to take that shit. Because I'm sorry, mom and dad, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
All right.
He has everything that I don't, and I just hate it. Yeah, all right, let's move on to the hot stove. This is another new segment for the offseason.
Ooh, and the fire was burning the last few weeks, my guy.
Yeah, and we finally have some free agency movement for thank God. I was losing my mind. That's the reason why we haven't put out a podcast in 3 weeks, guys, because there's been nothing to talk about. But now there's a lot to talk about, and there's rumors to talk about for potentially more things going on. So we might have another podcast in 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. Yu Darvish was traded to the San Diego Padres along with his catcher Victor how do you say his last name?
Caratini.
Caratini for Zach Davies and prospects. Who are these prospects? Let's see. Luis Patino, Francisco Mahida.
No, I'm sorry. Pretty much no-name guys right now.
Yeah.
The only one that's any significance is Reginald Presidio. He was the number 11 prospect.
Well, also Zach Davies is a huge get in this trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's a pretty funny exchange. I don't know if you saw. Yu Darvish is pretty funny on Twitter, but he actually screenshot a conversation he was having with Victor Caratini, where Victor tweeted or texted him like, "Hey, I heard you're being moved." And he replied saying, "You too," because he didn't know. But yeah, this is at the same time, to me, this is everything that's fantastic about baseball right now. When you're seeing a team like the Padres, who were fucking awesome last year, the most exciting team about baseball, they're going all in, including the other couple moves we're going to talk about, which is fantastic. Great stuff to see, especially a city like San Diego, where if the Padres stay at this level, they're really going to brace them. They only sit there, the only team in town. But the Cubs should have been a dynasty. Mm-hmm. The Cubs in 2016 were so talented on offensively. Their rotation was good. They had a great bullpen. They won the World Series first time in almost 100 years.
Yeah,
and it's done. We've
and that like guys, we're gonna get into it a little bit more in a couple more moves. I don't mean to cut you off, Julio, but I think it's important that we kind of set them up for this.
No, you're good.
It looks like they're throwing in the towel. There's rumors of Chris Bryant going to the Nats. There's Kyle Schwarber's gone. It looks like they're selling, and John Lester's contract's up there. He's probably going to walk. And it's crazy because if you would have asked me after that 2016 World Series, it's like the first time, are we going to see them here again? I would have told you absolutely yes. We could potentially see them win 3 World Series in the next 10 years because they had such a good, young, talented team. I don't know what the fuck happened. I really don't. It's pretty wild.
It's I think the same for, unfortunately, a lot of teams. It's ownership. It's I think the teams just don't want to pay for these guys. Yu Darvish was the runner-up in Cy Young last year in the NL. He had a huge bounce-back year for the Cubs.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine he's going to stay in that same shape, playing in Petco, have a big field, have a fantastic offense. He's going to be able to score behind you.
Yeah.
Fantastic defense. I don't see him, if he can maintain those same numbers, I don't see him not being a top 5 Cy Young finalist again next season.
I mean, he'll be a top tier pitcher. He'll be a top tier pitcher. Yeah, I don't know if we can necessarily start talking about Cy Young potential or not, but he'll be a great. I mean, he's not even the best pitcher on the Padres pitching staff. I mean, he's going to sit behind Blake Snell at 2, and then Mike Clevenger's hurt. When Mike Clevenger comes back in 2 years, their 1, 2, 3 is going to be Snell, Clevenger, Yu Darvish. That's fucking wild.
And you're ignoring Dennis and Lamet.
No,
who have a 2-5 year, that's they're so talented right now, and we're forgetting about Chris Paddock too. Their rotation's insane right now. If those guys can pitch where they could, they're great. And it's just as much as we can talk all day about shitting on the Cubs for this decision because of the Reds look like they're trying to sell whatever juice they had. The Cardinals are kind of a weird smorgasbord of a mess. Damn, dude, Cubs keep this team together. They could have made another run, but it's they're being irresponsible.
But here's the thing, Julio. I've seen this happen in teams before, and I get excited over these moves, and then something happens like the Cubs, and it's just what the fuck happened? The past 3 years, that team was supposed to be so good. So, I mean, let's hope that they can keep it together and they don't make irresponsible moves moving forward. But yeah, I mean, Austin Nola, Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Tommy Pham, which I forgot was even on that team for a little bit. Will Myers, they are just fucking stacked from top to bottom.
Super talented, and with both trades, we're going to talk about the Snell trade in a minute.
Yeah.
They're not even giving up some of their prime guys yet. Mackenzie Gore is still there, and what's he going to do, or what can you? if they really want to go crazy, what can you get for a Mackenzie Gore, who was like one
Yeah.
of the top pitching prospects? It's wild. So we already talked about it. On top of the Padres getting Yu Darvish, they also got Blake Snell, who last we saw was not happy about getting taken out of the World Series, and that pretty much changed the outlook of that game and the rest of the series from the Tampa Bay Rays. For Luis Patino, he's actually one of the better prospects in their system as a pitcher. Francisco Mejida, and additional prospects.
You had to give up the farm for him, man. So I'm not surprised that they gave up.
Especially for how cheap. We talked about this a while back, probably offline, not on a show, but his contract was like pennies.
Yeah.
Like a couple mil because he's still on that rookie deal.
Mm-hmm. Wait, Blake Snell is? No, he's not.
Yeah, Blake Snell's not making that.
No, he got an extension from his rookie deal, but it's not quite his rookie deal, but it's very cheap for considering who he is. Let's see. It's 5 years, $50 million. So yeah, it was an extension. Yeah. So there's no arbitration or anything like that. He just, a couple years into his rookie deal, he decided to extend it, probably just to kind of like what Steven Piscotty did back with the Cardinals a few years ago. He probably had like a really good year. This was before his Cy Young year, I think. And just to be safe, wanted to sign a quick, efficient extension. So 5 years, $50 million, and that's through 2024. So he's super fucking cheap for
10 mil for somebody like we've seen what he can do.
Yeah.
To steal, and there's not much we can really say about the Rays. Patino is going to be, or Patino.
Did you see this coming at all, though, dude? I was shocked.
We knew it was, yeah. No, I think we knew.
I know, but I heard the rumors. I heard the rumors and everything like that. Like we talked about him with Jessica a little bit, but like when I heard the rumors, it's just like, what? Why would I don't understand what the Rays are doing like that. I don't know. This is so confusing.
I just can tell from that because I think they pulled him early and they'll start before either the game 6 or the start before sometime in one of the LCS games. Like yeah, I think it's kind of like, again, what we were talking about before offline with stuff going on with my work stuff.
Yeah.
You just kind of outgrow that shit. And if they're not willing to help you out, then you got to do what's best for you. And he is just in that situation where the Rays are going to be fine at the end of the day. Patino's going to be solid. And they have a really smart front office. It's just like the Padres, like, damn.
So we made this point with the last trade, how obviously losing you makes the Cubs worse. Does losing Blake Snell make the Rays worse? I say yes.
Oh, you have to add on too with Charlie Morton leaving. I think they're our worst team right now.
That's true. And Charlie Morton's also gone too. I say yes. Now they have Tyler Glass now, and
they signed a pitcher, Cardinals. We were talking about him with Ronnie last episode. Oh my God, I'm spacing out. Yeah. But like, and for the rest of the team, like, what's Randy Rosarino going to do for a full season? Is he going to be able to continue that magic?
Yeah.
Is Luis Patino going to be ready to pitch?
Michael Walker.
Great for the rotations. Oh, Michael Walker. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks, and it's like Toronto has shown like they're going to be willing to spend. It looks like they're trying to get one of these guys, a LeMahieu, a Springer. Yankees are already talented enough. They're probably going to make a couple moves here and there before the season starts. I don't think the Rays can make it into the postseason again this year.
If it's 8 teams, then yeah, they're in. I think they're in.
Yeah,
but if not, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for them. It's definitely gonna be tough because then now they're gonna have to go up against the Angels, the Astros. I mean, who else was in the White Sox in that consideration? The Twins. Like, I'm trying to think of teams that like would be hunting for that wild card spot that aren't necessarily. Because I would say they're worse than the Yankees. I would think that the Yankees will win.
I think Boston's going to have a nice bounce back season. They'll be competitive again. I don't know if they're going to be at that World Series contending level or a playoff contender, but they're going to be competitive again. So,
and then whatever the luck of the draw is for the AL Central, that's just like, I mean, who even knows what's going on there?
Hell, even like I can see Kansas City just getting hot.
Yeah,
like they're guys who are young, really step up again and get hot. So yeah, who knows?
And I mean, the AL West might be, the bottom half might be more competitive next year when they expand the schedule more and start being able to beat up on shittier divisions like the AL Central and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe Texas could be somewhat competitive. Maybe Seattle could be somewhat competitive in there. I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if they can do it, but I don't know what their management's doing. You think it has something to do with their ballpark? They're just trying to get a new ballpark, so they're just, or they don't want to spend.
I don't know, man. Florida's weird.
Florida is.
I like, weird. And we can say the same thing about the A's and the Coliseum, but we just growing up in the East Bay and seeing what's kind of turned. It's hard to build, not just in the Bay Area, not just in the East Bay, but it's hard to build shit in California in the first place.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody who's willing to go all in, like a Steve Ballmer buying out the Forum and wanting to build an arena over there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the excuse is for the Rays. They've obviously shown that they do it and they deserve it. But anyways, we're back to Padres talk here on the Town Tailgate because the Padres also made. We won't get too deep into this because we don't know a lot about him. But Ha-Seong Kim, he is from the KBO, the Korean baseball organization. A second baseman signed to the Padres for 4 years. Again, don't know much about him, but this is somebody you should definitely keep up with. He was probably the best offensive player and coming out of the organization who was kind of brought up from the from KBO. In his 5 years, he's 25 years old. He's never hit lower than 281. He's never hit less than 19 home runs. So if this guy can be anywhere near what he's producing KBO, and we know the KBO has been, just from watching it this past year with no baseball to start MLB baseball, it's a very offensive driven league. So this could be a steal. This could, we'll see, especially with Jake Cronenworth at second. We'll see
I was
what
about
happens.
to say that I since they are not doing universal DH, I don't know necessarily where he fits starting wise, because Jake Cronenworth is a really good second baseman. So I don't think you bench him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And then the infield's very crowded. They have their three best players play on the infield. Like I don't know where else he play. Does he play outfield at all? Their outfield's fucking stacked. I mean, we'll see. Maybe he'll train. Maybe he, a nice rotation spot, give some guys some rest.
Watch them pull like a fat trade and put like Cronenworth and then like a Mackenzie Gore, because now like everything's pretty filled up. Yeah. Combo those two dudes and send them somewhere to get a bigger package. But yeah, again, we don't know too much. I think this is though we should probably keep an eye out. But somebody we do know a lot about, we mentioned him earlier, Kyle Schwarber, the former Cub, former playoff World Series hero for the Cubs, is signing a 1-year prove-it deal with the Nats. It's actually pretty funny in our group chat we have with the Ford Train Savages guys with Rich and Rob Schlatter. I accidentally said the Mets. I just woke up and I said the Mets. I wasn't reading all the way.
Freudian slip.
Oh, exactly. And they're like, oh, I would hate it. We wouldn't want him on the Yankees or something like that is what they said. I'm like, well, you do have him on the Yankees. His name is Gary Sanchez. That was a good one. Yeah, very much a huge prove-it deal. The Nats also, we talked about, I think the last episode, picking up Josh Bell. What do you think, man? Like, it's a 1 year. He knows he's got the pop. I think having Soto in the lineup is going to help him a little bit.
He's underwhelming. He's underperformed. He was overhyped in the first place. It was just because he was on the hottest team in the league that year, and he plays for the Cubs, and the Cubs are a popular team in national baseball media. His rookie year was overhyped, and people were overhyped on him, and was never really big on Kyle Schwarber. I never got it. And I think that I was pretty right. Like, I just never understood it.
Yeah, so far you're not wrong. He's kind of a like if Joey Gallo was playing for the Cubs, I think we'd be looking at Joey Gallo the same way. Or some people will be looking at him the same way Kyle Schwarber does, which is they're super one-dimensional.
Yeah,
he's not a good fielder. He's not a great base runner. He's got pop. Like if he gets a hold of the ball, he'll hit the shit out of it. You know what? I got a good example. Like Justin Bour. Like remember when he was the Marlins, he is hitting with no batting gloves and he hit like 30 plus bombs or something one season. and then the Angels signed him. And it was kind of like an under the radar signing because it was like, hey, if this guy can hit in this lineup with Trout and I think Ohtani was first year and then like Pujols, then hell, like this could be a huge bounce back. And then he did it, and now he's playing in Korea.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, Schwarber will probably be playing internationally at the end of all this because I think this is probably his last chance.
Also, he goes to a Nats team that's already pretty good, so like I don't like how much can he help them?
And like how much can like Soto's? I know you're a big Soto guy because you had him on your fantasy team,
and because he's just fucking dope and good at baseball,
Mr. Soto Dodo.
Yeah.
But like how much can that one bat really help you in terms of getting those pitches that you weren't giving to Soto? And it's like, and if at that is Schwarber that guy to really take advantage of it anymore? I don't think so.
Schwarber's he's just not that guy. Yeah. All right. Next up, DJ LeMahieu. I mean, he's been wanting this long-term deal, which he deserves for all offseason. And there's been rumors that conversations are happening, but they're also not happening. It's a little bit of misinformation going on. And he's just kind of sitting there a little bit pissed off because he wants to play for the Yankees, but the Yankees aren't really like working with him right now. I don't know. It's just a total shit show, man. And if they keep fucking around and doing this, like they're going to lose him. And if you ask any Yankee fan, that's like the one guy that they want in the offseason is make sure they get LeMahieu back because he's been nothing but fantastic for them. Won the batting title. Like, I don't know what the Yankees are doing, but they want to keep Gary Sanchez, who's the most overrated fucking worst catcher in baseball, but they don't want to re-sign arguably the best second baseman in the league. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Who's first?
Exactly. There you go. Cool.
No, like no
argument.
No, who is the best second baseman in baseball right now?
Yeah, I mean, I that's the thing. I can't think of another one. So he probably is the best. I don't know who.
Yeah, I think. Well, Altuve was always the name that came to mind. Like, I need more, man. Shit. Yeah, he probably is. And just to throw some names out there, he's
Javi
32.
Baez moved to shortstop, so it's not Javi.
Yeah, Javi moved his sec to short.
Yeah.
I know. Tommy La Stella. Let's go, baby. Anyways. So he wants to go back to the Yankees. He's trying to get a 4 or 5 year deal similar to like what Josh Donaldson got with the Twins and what JD Martinez got with the Sox. They're not budging on it. Other teams that have been interested include the Dodgers, Blue Jays, Mets, and as well as the Braves, Cardinals, Boston, and others.
The Mets?
Obviously, probably not yeah. Well, if the Mets were to get
move McNeil to third full time.
Well, McNeil also plays in the outfield too. So, but there's also the Mets are been rumored for George Springer, but it's like, who knows what this is? This could just be agent speak, and this could be him starting the process because we've talked about this time and time again on the show and offline. It's getting exhausting, man. Yeah. Like somebody just signed, especially when we saw what last offseason looked like and how quickly it took Garrett Cole to sign at the Yankees.
Yeah.
If you look up, and if you're going to say the excuse, the revenue wasn't there. Okay, well, look how quickly the NBA free agency went with no fans in the stands.
Yeah. That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's a cop out.
They're getting their TV money. Like
Danny Vanetti had a really fantastic tweet, bringing him up again. Was pretty much.
We love you, Danny.
Said, excuse me. Yeah, he liked our tweet when we retweeted it, talking about the A's organization.
I interact with him quite a bit on social media. He's great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But we were pretty much saying like, his thing was like, there's no such thing as small markets. It's just owners being cheap.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of shocking that it's 2021 and out of all the teams that play this card, it's the Yankees for probably the best second baseman in baseball. You should have signed him yesterday. You should have signed him in November to get this over with and really explore.
Yeah.
And you're not. And honestly, at the end of the day, if he's not there, Yankee fans are going to be like, you know what? That's their whole fucking fault.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on that and we'll report back when we hear something. Maybe next podcast something will be done, but probably not with the way free agency is going.
Speaking of New York.
Yeah, let's go to the big deal. This is basically the only reason why we want to do this podcast. No, I'm just kidding. The Yu Darvish and Blake Snell deal was pretty big, but this is the big one that happened this week. Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco traded to the Mets for 3 players. Jose Ramirez. Wait, what? No, that's not right. Who were the 3 players?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get the full. So the Cleveland Indians, the soon-to-be former Cleveland Indians, received Andres Jimenez, minor leaguer. The only major league guy they're getting right now is Ahmed Rosario, who's a decent shortstop, as well as Isaiah Green and John Wolf. So more or less,
Rosario was a big prospect for them coming up, and he's been kind of a disappointment.
There was a lot of hype around him. Wolf and Green are the number 9 and 10 prospects for the Cleveland organization, or for the Mets org. And this was a high rate robbery, man. Like that's all. And Carlos Carrasco we know we're gonna get it from Lindor.
I can't believe they got Carrasco in this deal too. That's wild. How did they snake that one in there?
He's been at post leukemia, going through his treatment. The dude's been so consistent. He's such a big strikeout pitcher.
Like I imagine, I'm just curious on literally how the deal went down with those 2 GMs. Like Cleveland calls him and is like, "All right, do we have a deal?" And the Mets owner just like, "Just throw in a pitcher for us." And then like the Cleveland general manager's like, "Okay, I'll give you Carrasco," and he says it on accident. And then the Mets GM's like, "Yes, done. Okay, let's do it. All right, I'll sign the paperwork. I'll fill it out right now." And then he just hangs up the phone. Like,
so you're telling me
what did I just do?
You're telling me they were so easy to give up on Carrasco, but they held on to Rincon for all that time?
Yeah, dude.
We like Rincon. You don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that wasn't the player. There's a pretty funny meme going around. You know the scene in Infinity War when it's like Avengers, when it's like young Gamora asks Thanos, like, "What did you get?" The stone's like, "What did you sacrifice?" Everything.
What did it cost?
Whatever.
Everything.
Yeah, what does it cost? Yeah. So the meme that was going around as the Mets owner, like, "What you get?" Lindor and Carrasco, and what you sacrifice is like LMAO, nothing. It's just, again, just fucking Dan Benetti tweet, man. There's no such thing as small markets. It's just cheap owners.
It's wild to me because, I mean, Lindor, they're probably not going to offer Lindor a long-term deal. You don't make that deal without the intention to do that. So he's going to be their shortstop for a long time. So their core is going to be him, Pete Alonso, probably one of the best home run hitters in the league, Jeff McNeil, and
Dwight Smith was awesome last year. And then
Michael
Conforto was awesome.
And
they got James McCann.
And then their rotation. I mean, we were talking about, is this the best rotation in baseball before? It definitely is now. I mean, their rotation is going to be Jacob deGrom, who's probably the best pitcher in baseball, Noah Syndergaard, who's been hurt, but still, when he's healthy, he's a fucking animal, Marcus Stroman, and now Carlos Carrasco. Like, going into a playoff series, you are walking in there and you're just, I'm going to quote, this is not a PC quote, but it's a quote from Moneyball. Like he walks in the Mets walk in the room, his dick has already been there for 5 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
fantastic quote.
Yeah. And I would be intimidated going into that series.
I think there's still going to be question marks with Stroman. That when he because he wasn't great when he was shipped to the Mets in the first place. I don't think he was all that great in 19. He set up last year. And Syndergaard, come back from Tommy John, he's probably going to be fine. But like, how long is it going to take for him to be at what he was level?
Stroman with the Mets is 4-2 with a 3.77 ERA. It's pretty good.
2.7? Okay. Well, we'll
strikeouts.
See. The verdict is, I think we're a little too early to kind of, because he was only there for a couple months before the season ended, and then he set out.
I'm a big Stroman fan, so maybe I'm biased.
Yeah. And plus, he dunks on people on Twitter, so we're a big fan of that. Yeah. But the reason I mentioned these names, and it's kind of funny that these are the same teams. Cleveland went to the World Series in 2016. There's only 3 players left on that roster on this team: Jose Ramirez, Roberto Perez, Bradley Zimmer. And Yeah, and it was just kind of funny because they're like, dude, they blew up this team. That's all they have left. Well, the same thing happened to their opponent that year with the Cubs.
Damn,
So
that's pretty wild to think about that. Yeah, both those teams are kind of
both
blowing up their squads.
And if you
Wow.
think about it, I think maybe baseball is just more of a turnover prone sport. Because if you think about like the 17 Astros, most of those guys are still there.
Yeah.
And then, but anyways, you know what, folks, but this is a baseball podcast, but more specifically, this is an Oakland Athletics baseball podcast. So now it's time for some Oakland A's news.
It's only going to be about 10 minutes of Oakland A's news, but hey, it is what it is.
That's all we got.
Yeah, it's all we got because there's still, again, folks, still no word from about La Stella and Semien. Though I will say that I think the market for position players but most specifically shortstops in this offseason all starts with Lindor. So now that he's finally moved, I think that we're gonna see more, at least, movement in where we're gonna find out exactly what's gonna happen with Marcus Semien, because I think people were wondering, a lot of teams who were looking at Semien were wondering, like, what is Cleveland gonna do with Lindor? Are we in this race? And now everybody knows who was in that race isn't. So maybe they're all right, cool. Well, then let's talk to Marcus and let's see if we can get a deal done with him. So, yeah.
I think now that we have A's news, I'll put my A's jacket back on because it was getting too hot, but now I'm cold.
So we'll do some of the minor news stories first, and then we have some Hall of Fame inductions that Julio's going to present later. First off, Nick Martini, he was a shortstop minor leaguer in our system. Outfielder. Sorry, I think he played shortstop too, though. I think he was utility.
He was always an outfielder. Anyways, go on.
He goes to the Cubs minor league system. Congrats.
I want to take a little extra minute talking about Nick Martini because he had, when his times were up, or when he was actually in the org or in the majors, he proved it. I think he looked like a pretty solid guy up there. He in 2018. Yeah, in 2018, he actually looked pretty serviceable. He hit 296 and obviously not a ton of playing time. But I thought he was going to be a pretty serviceable dude. I thought he might have been a pretty solid, like, 4th to 5th outfielder option. I think the reason we all remember him as his first career home run was against the Cubs in Chicago with his family in attendance because he's from Illinois. I'm a little bummed about it. I thought he could have been like a potential dude we could have kept around for like as a 4th, 5th outfielder coming into the season if we really needed that depth, especially with our new inductee to the Hall of Fame. But you're a pretty big guy, or a pretty big fan of what our outfield prospects are. So who knows? I could definitely see somebody else easily slide in and take a spot for a 4 or 5 outfielder spot in the big leagues.
I think the talent of our outfield just moved a little bit too fast for his development. So, like, if let's say Laureano doesn't end up being like this stud, then maybe there's a shot for him. If Mark Hanna doesn't have like an insane improvement that he had 2 seasons ago, I think there might have been a possibility for him. Had Steven Piscotty not been serviceable as well, same thing. But or had they not even made the Steven Piscotty trade. But unfortunately, it's just our outfield's just locked, at least for another year. So I just there wasn't much room for him there. And one of our outfielders just walked, which we'll get into in a second. So, but I don't think he would have filled that spot. I don't think there's any way in hell. I think there's better guys in our farm system that can fill that spot. I don't think anybody.
About the time when we were talking about dudes like him and Dustin Fowler in 2017, when like these guys their names were getting mentioned in farm pieces, we didn't know, you're right though, that Ramon Laureano was just going to fucking rocket up this organization the way he has.
Chad Pinder too,
or how Mark Hanna's really proven himself as an everyday player in the outfield. We didn't know that. So there's going to be some repercussions to it. I think we kind of saw the same thing with with the A's finally giving up on like Jarrell Cotton, if you think about it, because when we first got him, there was a lot of hype around him. He came from the Dodgers org. His first couple starts, I think like in 2018, 2017, people were really big on. He got injured, and then Lasorda came up. Chris Bassett really took over that pitching rotation.
The talent down there in the minor system just moved faster than he could develop, and it passed him by. And that's just kind of what happens when you have a team that's as good as our team. Like, we were the number 2 seed in the Major League Baseball playoffs last year. I hate to brag, but yeah, we're that good. Like, what do you want me to say?
Yeah. And so, best of luck. Kyle Schwarber's not there anymore, so shit. I wouldn't be shocked if he's going to be, could be if not a major everyday guy, like a off day kind of guy. I think he still has some stuff in him. I think there's still going to be a chance where he can be decent. So we'll see. He wasn't the only kind of border fringe A guy to get a deal.
Speaking of pitchers and our rotation and talent that passed him by too. Yeah.
Hey guys, remember Daniel Gossett?
Yeah.
He's in Boston now. Minor league deal. Not much to say about him. Just you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, it's hard to have this conversation. It's like, yeah, the talent just really passed him at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm really happy with our rotation. There's honestly no room for him to be to be completely. And I'd like to have that, like we keep saying all season, that dog. But in terms of how it's made up, like, we're solid. And this is kind of a weird story, but obviously all of you live in this country that is going to hell in the past week.
Except for the couple of people that I know of on Reddit who listen to UK.
Oh, yeah. You guys,
shout out, y'all.
Yeah, shout out to you guys, and you don't have to deal with the bullshit that we have to deal with every day out here. So obviously everybody probably saw, we don't want to get too political. This is probably your break from that. Everybody saw what happened in the Capitol this week with the riot and storming. Someone made a tweet, and Sky Bolt, he's a minor league outfielder.
It was actually Marcus Stroman, going back to your guy.
My boy. Sky Bolt, minor league outfielder for the A's, responded to that tweet with a very ignorant and clearly very not informed opinion on the matter, basically saying, what's the difference between this and Black Lives Matter protests? Keyword in there, Black Lives Matter were protests. They were not riots. I was a part of those protests. Trust me, I was there. They were peaceful. And it didn't go well. Marcus Stroman clapped back pretty hard.
Well, somebody was like, well, that's one less Ace player jersey I'm going to buy. And the Marcus like, it's okay. He was trash anyway.
Yeah, he was like a minor league. He said something about that. Yeah, I think everybody who listens to our podcast knows our opinions on it.
Yeah, we don't want to get too far into it.
We don't hate you if you feel a different way. We understand that, and it's your right. But this is a little bit
insensitive,
over the top. Yeah, insensitive, and also a little. I don't think that this person agrees with necessarily your beliefs. If you are one of those conservative listeners out there, I think that he's a little bit more extreme than you probably are. I would assume that you're more intelligent and knowledgeable and know your stuff. This is just ignorance.
Yeah, and it's, and of course, look, we're not everybody's gonna have the same mindset as us, and we know that as a part of a big baseball as a whole kind of has some problems with that, but I've always thought things would be a little bit different for the A's because of Oakland, because of the history of Oakland with the Black Panther movement, with everything civil rights movements that Oakland has done. We would hope that the history might have been a little bit different for the players, but that's
to be fair,
life.
He hasn't spent any time in Oakland. He's been in Las Vegas.
That's true. He spent time in Vegas. Well, and Stockton, and we know how Stockton can be at times.
And Midland, Texas. So it's like,
we totally understand.
Necessarily had that effect. He hasn't had the Tony Kemp, Marcus Stroman effect on him probably yet. which I'm sure
Yeah,
they would have
and
set him straight.
who knows? I wouldn't be shocked if there might be a little bit of repercussions. This isn't a cancel culture thing, but this is more of like at this point, it's hard to be a part of certain clubhouses if you're going to be a part of that. We see that what's happening right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson trying to demand a trade because he didn't think the organization did a good enough job when it came to like civil rights movements that were happening this last summer with Black Lives Matter.
They also didn't keep him in the loop on
the coaching hiring
roster,
when it's your fucking
and roster moves and stuff like that.
When the guy is one of the best quarterbacks in all of football and you don't even get his mindset. Yeah, it's a lot. But not to get too far away from the subject. We don't have much to talk about it. You can have your own opinion on it. We just want to bring this up to light. If this is something that is important to you as a fan and you want to form your opinion, whether it is with him or against him, do your own things and see what he has said. We're just telling you right now, this is what happened.
Did you like or did you respond to the tweet or anything from Starman or anything? I'm just curious whether if our fans can go to our Twitter page and if they want to.
I did not. You can look it up. It's all over the A's subreddit. A lot of people are talking about it. And to be honest, the A's subreddit community, everybody's kind of in the same boat, which is, I would say like 90% of the people are in the same boat, which is pretty much, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
So that's not me saying it. Wink. But that's pretty much what a big part of the community is saying. Again, form your own opinion on it, but that's what happened. But Chris,
let's move it on. Yeah, to this part. Yeah, your favorite segment, Julio.
It's my favorite segment, but it's also my least favorite segment all at the same time. Folks, we have had 2 new induction members to the former Oakland Great Hall of Fame.
Let's hold on. Let's do the first one, which is the player, and then
yes, we'll I don't want to. The second one is still
a lot more to talk about for the second one.
Yeah, this is probably gonna be the biggest segment I think, is the next one. So
Julio, the first one is Robbie Grossman, who's traded to who signed with the Tigers. So Julio, take it away.
We would like to welcome Robert Edward Grossman to the former Oakland Athletic Great Hall of Fame. 2019, 2020, Robert played in 189 games in the green and gold, hitting 14 home runs.
Hey, he's not a power hitter.
And 61 RBIs. The batting average of about 240. Robbie,
in the Coliseum, that sounds worse than next year.
Your coupon to Perico's Mexican food in San Leandro will arrive by mail. Yeah. So okay, Chris, how do you feel about it? We knew
it sucks.
We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
we knew it was going to happen.
It sucks, but we knew it was coming. I think what sucks more is trying to find someone sufficient to replace that role as the 4th outfielder. But we got guys in house that could do it. I mean, Tony Kemp and Chad Pender are both very, very capable. But it sucks. He had such a good season this season too. He was really like the backbone of the offense for a long period of time when a lot of our stars were struggling.
Dude, big time. He was one of the best hitters probably the first month and a half of the season when Ollie's bat just wasn't there, when Piscotty was going through injuries. He was kind of the more consistent guy. One thing I think we're really going to miss, and I don't know how we're going to really fill it in going forward, was the dude was a consistent fielder. He was arguably our best overall fielder in the outfield. I know Ramon is a pretty flashy guy. He got nominated for a Gold Glove, but Robbie was never making those mistakes. He's always playing ahead of the ball. He had a pretty decent arm, and that's something the outfield's going to miss.
He was consistent.
So you already mentioned Pinder potentially get some time in the left field. Canna, this could pretty much be his job full time now if Bo Mel's willing to sign it over with. I don't think he will, because that's just not how this team is managed. Tony Kemp could be out there. You also think about some guys that are going to be in the farm. Dustin Fowler, we talked about earlier. There's another person you're a really big fan of that I can't remember. Seth Brown is some name that's being mentioned.
I don't know why I'm keep going. I don't know why I'm blanking, but yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some options, and I think there's going to be some decent outfield options that might be in the A's pay range if they want to do a 1-2 year deal again with somebody. This one doesn't hurt too much, just knowing that we could probably get another player as serviceable as he is. Or if not, we already have somebody on the same level.
Yeah. So mine was a Nick Allen or Logan. I mean, I like Nick Allen or Logan Davis, but they're both infielders. But I think they can be converted to outfielders. Austin Beck was the main guy that I'm big on outfield wise, and who's ready to come up. Of course, and sorry, I don't mean to.
Yeah, go for it.
But David Forrest talked about how he's looking outside market for a new outfielder, fourth outfielder. I just feel like that's a waste of payroll. I'd rather use that money to pay LaStella and Marcus. Tony Kemp and Chad Pinner are both more than capable of filling that role. And especially if they bring back LaStella, then Kemp and Pinder kind of lose playing time at that position at second base. So why not just kind of like fill them in? And then I don't know. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I think the two names we definitely want to bring, if this is going to be the outfield depth going into spring, I think two names we definitely should keep an eye on was we talked about him last time with Kai Tom coming over from the Cleveland Org. He might be somebody we should watch out for. Yeah, but there's been a few pieces here and there in the Athletic about Luis Barria that he's actually had like a pretty decent offseason, getting in baseball shape, getting in playing shape where he could be one of those guys who sneaks in and not necessarily have a Ramon style season where he takes over, but he could become one of the guys who's going to be filling in with Canada there.
But is he ready to come up now? Because I know he's been dancing around it. I think he just played Double-A last year, right? Or did he play any Triple-A ball? Yeah, he was in for almost all.
Yeah, well, that was 2019, and we don't really have.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We don't really have a scale, but the thing is, like, all these guys, you have to think that managers who are in the alternate side or whatever, the taxi squad that were down there, they knew when guys were like, yeah, he's ready. Like, this is somebody they probably just didn't have the room to do it.
I've been excited about him for a while. I would love to see him up there, but he would be great in that role, actually. Yeah, maybe he'll make a move. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, okay, so he was in the Dominican League. He wasn't great. He hit 216.
He did that this year instead of minors? Is that what you're saying?
No, well, I don't think because we didn't really have the minor leagues system. That was the most competitive ball he was able to play.
Yeah.
Dominican League's also like super competitive. Like fucking Lindor, or not Lindor. Fernando Tatis was playing the Dominican League, so that's how it goes.
All right. So then we have one more, and this one hurts, ladies and gentlemen. And when we say former Oakland Great, like this is the definition of it. This isn't parody. This isn't comedy. This is like she actually is, and she's probably like I don't know. She would be like a Willie Mays in the Hall of Fame. She would have her own section. I'm saying she because she's not a player. So Louis, I don't know why I was going to call you Luis. Julio, take it away.
I hate this, man. Susan Slusser.
You don't know her
beat writer. I do not have a middle name, unfortunately. Beat writer, San Francisco Chronicle, covering the Oakland Athletics from 1999 to 2020. During her time as the A's beat writer, a lot of us fans knew we can get great interviews with her through her time with the orgs and learning a little bit about everybody. It's not just what she did for the A's organization, but what she did for writers and women in the sport as a whole. She was elected as the vice president of the Baseball Writers Association of America in 2011. The following year, she was elected as president. And then in 2014, she became a part of the board.
She was president the year one of the years she was president was the year that they did not elect a single person into the Hall of Fame.
Or not the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Writers Association. She's on. Look, okay, so that's the end of the bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, remember the year that the writers did not elect a single player into the Hall of Fame? She was the president for that year, and I remember her going on TV and having to explain that on ESPN to people.
Yeah. In case you're wondering what she's doing, she's going across the bay, which is bittersweet.
Going to the enemy.
Yeah. So we've talked about this a lot because the morning that this news broke, Dallas Braden actually tweeted like, "Hey, A's fans, I'm just letting you know when you hear the news, I'm here for you." And we were all shitting our bed like, "Oh my God."
It was going to be like, yeah, Chapman traded or something like that.
Yeah, but it was worse. It was Susan Slusser is going across the bay. We talked about this a lot offline. Career-wise, this is going to be big. I think we were in the same boat. This is what's going to get her in the Hall of Fame, is being able to put the Giants' name bigger in the baseball world because of their success and being in the big city. This is going to push her over the top for her candidacy. It's just like, it doesn't make it any easier, man.
This is gonna make her the greatest baseball writer in Bay Area sports history. That's what this move is, because that means that she's gonna cover the two main teams for a certain amount of time. She's gonna have all these relationships and connections. So me and Julio kind of played this game where we were comparing writers and journalists and sports personalities in the Bay Area to like national writers. So like John Shea, who was a Giants beat writer for a long time, San Francisco Chronicle, written a ton about sports in the Bay Area. He's one of the probably most infamous Bay Area sports writers. John Shea, we would probably say, is like the Bob Ryan of Bay Area. If you're familiar with ESPN and with Boston sports, Bob Ryan is a legend. And Susan Slusser is now going to be like Jackie McMullen. Like everybody's going to know her. And yeah, like he said, this is a move to get her in the Hall of Fame, to expand her resume, make her this legendary figure of baseball journalism, and that's great. It sucks, but she's got to do what she's got to do. I don't know. I follow her on Twitter, but once the Giants tweets start like rolling through every day, I might just delete her because I don't care enough to.
You can't do that.
It's not personal. It's just like I just don't want my Twitter newsfeed to be filled with Giants information because I don't care. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I could see her when it's all said and done, when it comes to what Bay Area media for sports. I think she'll be up on that Mount Rushmore with like a Bill King, Lon Simmons, John Miller, LaCroix and Kipe, Fosse. Like they're kind of like the titans of.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like
Jim Barnett. Like these are dudes who are just broadcasters. Like there's more with.
If you want to talk like journalists, yeah, I mean, like I think Monty Poole will be in there. Tim Kawakami will be in there one day too. Like yeah, if that's.
But she's kind of like the GOAT though. In a way, and she's so well respected around all of baseball. She's so trusted in that clubhouse. She's always getting everything she wants, and like had such a great relationship with Bomel and the rest of the team.
She's one of the few beat writers that in the league that, when it comes to A's news, she beats Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal, always. No, like Jeff Passan probably gets his information from her for the A's, like, yeah.
And she doesn't take shit. Her Twitter feed is fantastic, because anytime any fan tries to rebuke her or tries to downplay whatever she's doing, nah, dude, shut that shit down. So she's such a huge influence.
You can't get to where you are now with taking shit. So
yeah. And she's a pioneer. We've talked about it when Jessica was on here a few weeks ago. The A's like post-game media team is all women. It's her, it's Jessica, it's Shayna Rubin, like it's I'm spacing
Alex
on somebody
Coffey.
else right now. Alex Coffey from The Athletic.
But
and then
on that
Martin
note,
Gallegos.
Martin Gallegos now has a friend, and he can bro out with someone because there's a new
Exactly.
bro on the beat. Uh, well, how do you say his last name, Julio?
Matt Kawahara.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, but
Hey, maybe this might be somebody we can pull to expand his age knowledge on the show. Wink, wink.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but he's if he's getting the seal of
him and
approval.
Martine on here, and we can bro out for an hour.
Hey, bro.
Guys being dudes.
Yeah, what's better than that, bro? Let's go to Jupiter Brewery in Berkeley. We're gonna get some pizza. And we're gonna get some beer.
Yo, the fucking the Warriors game's on tonight. Mad Oak. Let's go to Mad Oak, bro.
Mad Oak. We're gonna go to Drake's dealership in Oakland. Damn, I miss going out.
I don't know why we're doing like.
Yeah, they're not like those. I don't think they're those kind of guys at all. Yeah, Susan Levin, but man, Matt Kawahara. If she's kind of giving him the seal of approval, then this dude's probably is gonna know his shit. I'm sure over the next couple of months we're gonna learn a lot about him. As sad as we are with Susan leaving, we're gonna be stoked to see what he's gonna bring. Something new, something fresh, something different.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to take their word.
The A's beat for sure. It's going to be a little bit different this year, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah. There was a couple new additions to the NBC Sports Bay Area team as well. Some known A's fans. They were bloggers before. Katie Wu, who I'm a big fan of her Twitter stuff. And if she wants to marry me one day, I will accept. She just joined NBC Bay Area, which is pretty
bonk.
Cool. We'll probably see her on the beat a lot. Some new blood all around. So if you want to expand your A's content and social media following to get to learn and know more about the team, those are some people who you should follow.
Actually, there's another person we should probably highlight real quick. You've probably seen, if you follow our Twitter account and you're just big on A's Twitter in general, Alex Espinoza. He runs the Ricky Henderson of blogs, which is an A's. It's an A's blog site. He does a podcast. Yeah. He just got a job with NBC Sports Bay Area, doing social content for them. So fucking huge shout out. We've interacted a few times. We're there on Twitter. And if you don't listen to his pod, he's pulled a lot of really cool guests. I think he's pretty good person to kind of see what we want to do in the future. Once we get our feet a little more in the ground and running. But yeah, who knows, Chris? That could be us one day, man.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's really cool that NBC Sports is really expanding their digital content, and you can tell that they're really putting money into it by hiring all these new faces, young faces too. So I hopefully we can get them on our pod and we can talk with them sometime. All right, Julio, do you have anything more to say, or
one of my favorite things, the show's over, but I think one thing we really didn't get a chance to talk about, it's been a lead-off thing for us for a while, but now that we're switching things up a little bit, give me something you watched that you really loved in the last couple of weeks, if you want your viewer recommendation.
So I've been binging How I Met Your Mother lately.
Somebody's in a mood.
Again, in a mood? What does that mean?
Or I think How I Met Your Mother, man, I want love. I miss.
I will say that it is very, it's very, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Topical to my life because all my friends are in long relationships.
I think we talked about that.
I'm the only single guy, so that's not the reason why I'm watching it. I just haven't binged that show in a while, so I decided to put it on. But I watched Wonder Woman 1984.
Dump.
It was underwhelming, but it was fine. It was an entertaining watch. But there are many issues with the plot that I have. I had this issues, and I've been saying it, and I'll say it again. I had a lot of those issues with the first Wonder Woman, and everybody just deep throated it the second it came out and thought it it was the greatest movie ever made, and woman empowerment and yay go. But that movie is just it's just plot hole after plot hole, and it doesn't really make sense. The character dynamics are all over the place. And I think that movie really just like piggybacked on, and this is gonna sound terrible, but it just kind of piggybacked a little bit on the Me Too movement, and that got it a lot of success. And I was hoping that maybe this movie would improve off a lot of those things, and it did not, and it was worse. And Wonder Woman 1 was fine; it was an entertaining watch, it was cool. Wonder Woman 2, fine, entertaining watch, whatever. I don't know, like this dude, like he gives up all this power for his son, who he's been shitting on the entire movie. Like I just don't like, like that one killed me. At the very end, where he's like, "No, my son, he needs me," but it's just like he didn't even remember that his
life is good.
Yeah,
but it could be better.
He
was the best part, easily.
In the beginning of the movie, it's like his son shows up. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" He's like, "It's your weekend." He's like, "Oh, that's right." So he shits on his son the entire show or the entire movie. He doesn't care about his son, but at the end, it's like so important to him. I don't know. So many things.
That movie was a great example of just because you're a good director doesn't mean you're a good writer.
Did she write that? Did she write that?
Yeah, Patty Jenkins wrote it. Her and Jeff Johns, who's like a DC comic book writer.
What about her direction do you like though? Because part of directing is making those creative choices in the writing.
I thought there was
that's the issue that I have.
Whenever we start our spin-off movie pod, we'll get a little bit deeper with this stuff, as like you work in the industry and all that.
And I paid thousands of dollars for an education to teach me how to watch movies.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. There was a couple shots that she was going at that were like really cool. My problem was it was like, oh my God, it felt like I was like watching a movie that was written by like a 15-year-old. Like when Kristen Wiig's character, when they first finally go to lunch together and they're talking, then she's like, "Have you ever been in love?" Yeah. From that point, I'm like, shit. And also, and Wendy agrees with me on this. Gal Gadot is one of the most attractive, most beautiful, hottest women on earth. Mm-hmm. You're telling me over the 40-year time span from when Steve died to the 80s, she never got over him?
Yeah,
there was like, nobody like she could like that was.
She's getting attention from every guy that ever walks by her in life. Like that, like that's ridiculous.
Also, I've never seen a movie that was based in the 80s that was so 180s.
Yeah. And then like they don't know that it's 4th of July. Like I feel like there'd be signs everywhere.
Dude, I fucking lost my mind.
And then like and on top of that, like just Kristen Wiig's character.
No 4th of July in Washington, D.C.
Kristen Wiig's character changes like that. Like it's just like there's no development or lead up to it. It's just like, this is too important to me. I don't know. It was whatever. Like would I watch it again? No. If my friends want to watch it, I mean, sure. But like, I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Watch it for the shit show. I watched last night. I think this might be like became one of my favorite animated movies ever. Mm-hmm. It's called, it's Lupin the Third. You know who he is? Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro. It's on Netflix. It is Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli fame. He made all those Spirited Away and all those excellent movies. This was his directorial debut.
Debut?
Yeah, whatever. Directorial debut, whatever. It was the shit. It pretty much, I was reading a little bit more about it. They're like, yeah, this was pretty much like the inspiration for Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. Whether they thought about that or not. Like it's pretty much an animated Indiana Jones where it's just this huge adventure caper movie. The lead guy is just very witty, very fun. I just had such a good time with it. And as like somebody who like really loves animation and wants to see more of the roots, I've seen all these Disney movies, just seeing all this Disney shit. Mm-hmm. I love just seeing the other influences of it. And that was a movie that was like fucking fantastic. This is somebody like I recommend everybody. It's on Netflix. Really cool watch, really fun, and it's like an hour and 30 minutes. So highly recommend. Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro.
So I have one more thing before we go, which you know about a lot because I was live texting you as I was doing it. I watched The Mandalorian finally, and I binged it like I said I was gonna do, and I think I said it on this podcast.
Okay.
I wanted to wait until the season was over and just binge it all. So on Christmas, because I wasn't able to go home because of COVID and shit like that, after I like opened presents with my family in the morning, I binged
second season
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it's so great, but it's amazing.
Okay.
It's fantastic. And it delivers in every way because it just like, every time you don't expect a fun surprise, they just throw one at you. And I think I can spoil it by now, right? Like most people have seen it by now, right?
It's been about a month. Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah. So like Boba Fett's alive. What? Mind blowing.
Yeah.
What else? His name, like Baby Yoda's name, like what? And like hearing his backstory.
Grogu.
Oh my god, like mind blowing. When what's her face shows up, I'm totally blanking on her name.
Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano shows up, like what? Mind blowing. She's in this series, and Rosario Dawson plays her. Fuck.
She killed it, dude.
And then Luke shows up. And you're just like, oh my god! Like, and they found a creative way to connect it back to the original story, but also not like piggybacking and riding off it. It was great. My one suggestion though to all listeners: don't binge The Mandalorian. Terrible idea. You
learned the hard way.
You need the week off in between, because they definitely have a very obvious structure, and I read about it later on that this was on purpose because it's a Western. So it has the Western structure. So it's Mando goes to this new place. He goes somewhere because he's trying to find out information on where to take Baby Yoda, for lack of a better word, or find more Mandalorians, basically. He meets someone who has a small bit of information. They need help doing something. He helps them. And at the end, he gets a little bit of information that really ultimately isn't that useful, goes on the next thing. That's the structure for every single episode. And it gets very obvious 3 episodes in to where you start watching it when you're binging it, and you like stop paying attention to certain parts because you're like, okay, this information's not important, and you just kind of tone out. So my advice, so I had to stop watching it. I had to like take like a 3-hour break because I was just like, I found myself like zoning out. Do it the structure in which Disney Plus gives it to you. Watch it every week. Keep up to date with it. Binging is not the way to go. So that's my advice. I learned the hard way. I will not be doing that for season 3. So yeah.
Fucking, as a huge Star Wars fan, lifelong Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was great. They did everything perfect. Very excited.
All right, man.
And Boba Fett show. All right. So that'll call it. Yeah. Let's call it an episode. Good talk. And we know, guys, we'll try to come back when there's more to talk about. So hopefully we can get some movement, and
the 2-week break's working well.
Yeah. Hopefully LaStella and Simeon sign during that time. That'd be great. So that's gonna do it, folks. Thanks for listening. And last but not least, Julio.
Let's go Oakland, and Happy New Year, man.
Oh yeah, it is New Year. The Town Tailgate is an independently produced podcast. It is written and executive produced by this guy, Chris Madrigal, and my partner in crime, Julio Reynoso. It is sound mixed and edited by yours truly. Social media management and marketing is run by, once again, my partner, Julio Reynoso. And a special thanks and shout out to my brother, Larry Madrigal, for composing and producing our theme song, as well as graphic designing our album cover and artwork. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next week. Please subscribe. And last but not least, as we always say, let's go Oakland.